Well, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, good night, maybe, whenever you happen to be listening to this podcast. I am so happy to be joining you once again. So excited for spring, so excited for the birds to sing, so excited for everything that spring brings. Today, well, before I get started, I'm so excited for this show because it is so impactful, so honest, so authentic. So I need you to really stay with us. My name is Marvinetta Woodley Penn. Speaking of names, we were just having a conversation about names. And we're going to get into that a little bit, but I want to quickly talk about why I'm doing this show. I sincerely believe that all stories matter. I don't care who you think you are not. How old, how young, how rich, how poor, how whatever you think your circumstances are, please know that you have a story. And it's important for you to tell somebody about your story because if you don't, somebody else will tell it one day and they won't get it right. So write it down, speak it, live it, grow into all the possibilities that your story has to offer, but get that story out. Be proud of it. Carry it with you for as long as you can, then pass it on so that somebody else can grow because of your story. Today we're talking about stories and passing them on and how they just matriculate. They just go into they just like osmosis. They go into things and into people and wherever they choose to go. I have two amazing people with me here in the studio today, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves, talk a little bit about their stories, and then talk about this amazing initiative that they've started based on another story. Gabby and Dean, thank you so much for joining me today. It is my pleasure to have gotten to know you as much as I have, for you sharing, you being so open. You know, these young people invited me and a young lady that I'm working with to their home and gave me one of the best dinners I've had in a while. In fact, you know, the Frankfurter, what was that, sausage? You gave, I froze.
So you could keep it longer.
So I can keep it longer.
Revisit it.
Because I am not a cook. And I was wondering, what am I going to eat later on? I'm having one of those sausages.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Gabriela Suarez-Starfeldt and Dean Suarez-Starfeldt.
You got it.
At the beginning of our conversation, before we went on air, we were talking about names. And my name is Marvinetta Woodley Penn, and I have no idea where Woodley came from. I have no idea what Penn means, probably a slave owner, but that's okay because that's what happened with us black folk. Had I been in wherever I'm from, it might have been, I have no idea. Ugh. But I know I was walking down the aisle when I first decided I was going to get married. I says, okay, I'm going to take my husband's name. None of this mixed name stuff for me. I'm just going to take my husband's name. And then I started thinking, my dad, the man I love so much, gave me this name by marrying my mother. How could I not continue with his name? So I decided at the last minute that I was going to be Woodley Penn, and I'm so happy that I did. I am smelling this wonderful aroma from the oil. Oh my God, it is amazing. We're not going to talk about that. I want to talk about you and your story. If you choose to talk about your name, that's something I would enjoy. Who wants to go first, Gabby or Dean?
I can jump in.
Okay.
So when Gabby and I fell in love, the road was pretty quick from meeting to falling in love to getting married. Basically, it all went quite quickly and seemed it wasn't hard to imagine that was the road that we were supposed to both be on. And
How nice.
we have two daughters, Zaria, our oldest, and Koa, our younger daughter. And Zaria's birth mom, her name is Carol, from my previous marriage. And so Zaria's name is Gabriela and Starfeldt, so she has my last name. And then when Koa came along, Gabby and I had to decide, well, what is Koa's name going to look like? And Zaria only had my name, although they have a relationship as mother and daughter could be between Gabby and Zaria. And so we ended up naming Koa just with the last name Suarez. And we chose then her middle name, which is Voigt, which is my mother's maiden name. So through that, we were able to honor both Gabby's family and carrying the Suarez name forward in a family of all girls, and then also to honor my mother and my family roots. And then together, our two girls are Suarez and Starfeldt, as we are both hyphenated Suarez-Starfeldt. So it all kind of works.
Mm-hmm. Allowing for one daughter having gotten married recently
and now there's been a little shift there,
Right,
but she
right,
managed to retain the Starfeldt along
In the
with
middle.
her new
Yeah.
married name, Dewar.
Yeah.
So
Good.
Yeah.
Oh.
carrying on the carrying on.
Yes, awesome. The tradition is so important. So important. So you were telling me why you decided to keep your name. Yes.
So I knew that I wanted to continue to be Suarez.
Yes.
For sure. I have 4 sisters, and I don't have any brothers still living. I have a brother who passed, in his first day after being born before me. So wanting to just carry my own name on. And Dean, I was fine with Dean continuing being Starfeldt. And so that was the road we were going down. And then his mom reached out to him when she found out, and she essentially said, what's the big deal? If she wants you to take her name and she wants to take your name, why wouldn't you guys both take each other's names? And that's how we landed on Suarez-Starfeldt. We just figured our kids, Zaria was already Starfeldt.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to give Koa Suarez-Starfeldt. It didn't feel right. And so Koa, as Dean said, became Koa Suarez. And the two of them together made Suarez-Starfeldt. So, yeah.
What an amazing woman your mom is.
Yeah, she's a rock star. She's really great. She's got a big heart. She's very creative. I get a lot from her, and I'm grateful for everything that I have in me that is from my mom.
Yeah, I saw the vases, and they're just gorgeous.
Yeah.
She collects vases.
Well,
Which
she
do you
collects everything.
prepare?
Yeah,
prefer?
she's a collector and
Okay.
a decorator, and one of the things she's collected over her entire adult life has been mid-century modern vases. They were married in the mid-'60s, and we have been the beneficiaries of that, in that her vase collection is now making its way over to our house, and I believe at this point we have more than she has.
And about how many
of her
vases do you have?
I don't know, 50?
No more.
Maybe?
Oh my, over
More.
50
Probably
vases.
50, 80. Well, it's interesting, too, because they're beautiful.
Yes.
Some of them are pretty old.
Uh-huh.
We are not purists. We have
Right.
vases that
We have Target vases mixed
We have-
with Italian glass from the 60s.
We do,
you know,
but we use
so.
them. And so we use them, and they have become, over the last 25 years, part of our family tradition. We fill them with flowers at special events. Zaria's graduation had 6 or 7 vases. We'll talk later about the KOA Fund, but all of our events have those same vases filled with flowers. So, and that came from my mom. My mom was about having beautiful things and using them. Definitely using them. She'd have
Having
people
beautiful things and using
Yeah, what good
them,
do
not
they
just
do
putting
if
them
you're
on
good-
display.
If you're good
Live
china or
them.
your nice vases
Yes.
are just in the cupboard, they don't.
On display, like behind
why-
the glass in a museum
You
someplace.
do have to get used to things breaking though, because it will happen.
It's true.
Yeah.
And
And letting
you-
go.
And letting go.
We-
Yeah.
we-
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about not holding things too tightly in the last 6 years in particular, right? And Pema Chodron, we've learned a lot from her. She has a great book that has been a real rock for me. And one of the things she talks about in that is it's not that you shouldn't have dreams of the future and imagine the things, but you have to hold on to them loosely because we can't control the future, right? And we don't know what it will bring. And so she talks about holding on to the future as if it were a sandcastle. When you're on the beach and you're making that sandcastle, you're going to make that as beautiful as you can possibly make it.
Yes.
But all of that is knowingly within the context that it's going to be destroyed. It is not going to last forever.
Yes.
And so that's been a really helpful tool for me to think about things I wish for or things I hope to have happen. And in order to be able to sit with it not going that way, if you sort of exercise this mentality of holding on loosely or holding on like a sandcastle, you can make your future very, very beautiful, but it might not be what you've wished for.
And then you might build one castle, and it might transition, and then you can build another one.
Right.
And it will go, and then you can go into another one, and another one, and another one.
All the sandcastles will transition.
They will. All of them will go, and you can just keep rebuilding and and morphing and growing. I like that concept. If you hold on too tightly, you can't let anything out, and nothing can get in. So you're just kind of stagnant. Well, we don't want that. So, as I always start with, tell me your story, wherever you choose to begin. How did you get to Kalamazoo? Why don't we start there?
Well, I was in Raleigh, North Carolina before coming to Kalamazoo. I grew up in Wisconsin, went to school in Wisconsin, ended up in Iowa for a few years, Raleigh for a few years, and then Kalamazoo to take a job here. I, to be honest, wasn't that pumped about Kalamazoo. I was really more excited about the job and the opportunity. Kalamazoo at the time felt a little bit too much like home to me. Appleton, Wisconsin, a river town, a paper town, a blue collar town, in the midst of transition to something new. And I thought I'd be here like the other two places in my career for a handful of years, and then I'd be on to the next place, and here I am. That was 1994. And now I'm still here and really enjoying this place that has become our place, together. So Gabby grew up here, though.
I grew up here. I moved here when I was one. My father started the heart program at Borges, so they moved from New Jersey to come here. And then was here until, I went away to high school, and I went away to college, and I was ready to be in warmer climates, and I was good with that. And I came back in 2000 for a wedding, and that's when I met Dean. And I fell in love with Dean in a matter of hours.
Oh.
Like, legit, for real, I did. Surprisingly, I was actually on the tail end of a divorce that I didn't want, and so I was shocked to fall in love with Dean. And so falling in love with Dean.
That's wonderful. That's so beautiful.
And
you
guys,
I can still see the love.
Where we were seeking, long-term companionship again.
Yeah,
'Cause both of us had been through that. And
But then I met Zaria, our eldest, and I fell in love with her in less time even.
Yeah.
And so I moved back. And I had lived in Florida, North Carolina, Northern California, Argentina. I had been all over, and so I wasn't overly excited about coming back to Kalamazoo, but I was because of Dean and Zaria.
Yeah.
And so and actually falling in love with Dean was learning Kalamazoo all over again, because Dean by that time was very passionate about Kalamazoo.
Okay.
And so his lens on it was very different than a young teenager or kid growing up here. Like, he just
wants to get away from that place that was
Yeah.
her parents.
Indeed, you have a totally different perspective
he
as
had
a
a different
teenager,
Kalamazoo to show
and then
me.
through his eyes and
Yeah.
his experiences, mixed with the love that you had for him and his daughter. Yeah, everything is new. Everything old is new again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so here we are, almost 25 years later.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, so I've been calling you Gabby. He calls you Gabby. Which do you prefer?
I
Gabby
prefer
like Bobby.
Gabby.
Gabby like Bobby. We say, because my name is Gabriela. My family's from
Gabriela,
South America.
okay.
And so it's pronounced Gabriela.
Yes, yes.
And so if you shorten it, it's
It's
Gabby.
Gabby, yes.
Right. Whereas like Gabrielle from France or, would be Gabby. That's why you
Yes.
tend to, so yeah. So
Yes.
actually it is Gabby. I appreciate
Thank you.
I appreciate you asking.
Oh yes, I hear things. I have to listen closely, but I've always listened. I try to listen closely.
Yeah.
So thank you for
Gabby's
correcting
good
me.
or Gabriella, either one.
Gabriela, because I said Gabriela, but yes, Gabby. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So let's get to it.
Sure.
Let's talk about Koa.
Yeah.
And do you mind if I give this this information
I don't know.
that I got from the article? I thought it would be good so that as people are listening to this, it's about suicide, about the topic. And if you don't mind, I'd like to just read this disclaimer.
Absolutely. Sure.
This is a sensitive topic, and it might trigger some of you, or it might inspire some of you to do something. And so I just want to let you know that it's okay to do something. This show contains content about suicide. If someone you know is experiencing suicidal thoughts or in a crisis, please contact Gryphon Place 211, the suicide hotline 381-HELP or 4357. The suicide prevention lifeline 800-273-8255. These services are free and confidential. Now, I think it's always a timely subject. It's a difficult subject for you, I know. I'd like you to start wherever you would start. I don't want to assume anything. I just want this to be an authentic conversation. We had a beautiful conversation where I just sat and listened, and I want to do that again, although I will interject because I do have a few notes that I want to make sure we get to while we are talking. So wherever you want to start and whoever wants to start, go ahead.
Yeah, well, when we were exchanging emails this past week, we talked a little bit about establishing some context of
Yes.
what was our world like before
Indeed.
November 2019, and for our family at that time, Zaria had graduated from Michigan. She was in Boston with her boyfriend at the time, now her husband Kyler. They were living and working and going to school in Boston. I was working both here in Kalamazoo and 3 days a week in Dearborn, so I was gone for part of the week, pretty much every week, which was still relatively new for us, and we were trying to figure out how to make that work for us as family. Koa was pursuing a new adventure of unschooling. We had taken her out of her middle school,
Yes.
where she didn't quite. Not quite. She didn't really click there, and so Gabby was up for pursuing this adventure, not just of homeschooling, but unschooling, which means
Yes.
everything that you do, everywhere you go, becomes a learning opportunity.
Indeed.
Right?
I love it.
And Koa was also pursuing belonging. That was kind of a core thing for her, right? Through that middle school stuff and all that. And then, Gabby's life was primarily focused on teaching and caring for Koa.
Yes, yes.
Who was 13 at the time. A typical day for us, there's always a creative project going on in our household.
Wonderful.
That spills into the whole family, whether that be Koa's project or her project or my project. There's always connecting with Zaria, right? She was in Boston. We were here, but we're wanting to operate, as a family of four that doesn't have a missing piece, right? So there was always that, particularly for Koa and Zaria.
Yes.
10 years apart in age, but just super connected.
That is so awesome.
Koa is and Zaria are technically, genetically half sisters, right? Yeah. That vocabulary never ever entered our household.
Yes, yes.
They're sisters.
Yes.
And in fact, I would also add, you talked about Carol, Zaria's mom, earlier, and we talk about how Zaria has 2 moms and a dad.
Yeah.
And Koa had a room over at Zaria's mom's house. So that's how.
And she would spend time with her sister at her sister's birth mother's house, right? It dawned on us, like, if they're sisters, why would they only share time together at one of her sister Zaria's houses? So it just all of a sudden became very clear to us, well, Koa can have her own relationship with Zaria's mom.
Indeed.
Who we love.
Indeed, yes.
And who she called KK.
And she called KK, and then, through all of that, right, like any household, for each of us, there was internal and external struggle.
Yes.
And we were helping each other walk through that in the world. And for Koa in particular, along with that, there was a lot of strong and sometimes loud emotion. She really was not. She didn't bury her emotions. Let's just say that.
Was she like that as a kid? I mean,
Since-
young
since she came out.
Since she came out.
Yeah,
Okay, I just saw her. I saw her as a young'un, and I was like, I bet this child was always pushing boundaries.
Always.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Always, actually.
And
I have a funny story about her in the crib pushing a boundary. Is that okay?
Sure, do it.
Oh really?
Yeah. She was shoving her feet between the slats.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, you can't put your arms or your feet through the slats. It's not safe, And she was like, but why not? Because it's not safe, really, when I think about it now. Well, I mean, but basically, she kept sticking her leg up, and she would say, Mama, is this safe?
Oh.
But how about this? Is this safe, Mama? And she kept moving it like, none of it is safe. Go get your leg in the crib.
I'm going to test it out a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention, just in terms of what our daily life looked like, was really, and this was all Koa, and this was Koa bringing this into our world.
Yes.
Is seeking, seeing, finding beauty in everything.
though she didn't seek it. She didn't seek it. She taught us to seek it.
Well, that's true.
She saw it everywhere.
She saw it everywhere.
It was just there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it came to her.
She
I
said
mean,
those were her
it
eyes.
was
That was
just-
the way she saw the world.
Yes.
Right. And we're not just talking
beautiful.
about, yes, we are talking about, look at this sunrise, look at this tree, look at this thing that
Yes.
Most of us would say, oh yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Also things that finding beauty, seeing beauty in things that most people,
Mm-hmm.
some people might even think is garbage. For example, these right here. These are on my necklace because of her.
Yes.
She would pick up rusted, crumpled, smashed metal pieces from the road, and she had a giant box of them, and she would incorporate them into her art, her mixed media art, right? As beautiful forms to be inspired by.
Or she would call me from her bedroom, Mama, come. And she was like, listen, isn't this the most beautiful sentence? And she would read me a sentence in a book, So, or I remember when she was in physical therapy, she had a big bout with vertigo. She couldn't walk unassisted for many, many months. And we were in physical therapy at Bronson. And I just remember walking in, and there was a woman who was being, pushed in a wheelchair, and she had one leg. And Koa, stopped her, and she said, I love your shoelaces.
How beautiful.
That's true. Like, I truly don't think that there was a day that Koa did not point something out. Mama, something beautiful. Something beautiful.
Mama.
Mama. Mama. look at this, Mama, look out the window, Mama, can I show you this, Mama, wow, truly, and you're right, she did bring that to all of us, the eye for beauty.
Yeah.
The eye for beauty.
Which was nothing that she
I
worked
love
at.
that.
Right.
It was just who she
Just
was.
innate.
No, period.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dean, you.
Yeah, well, we came to November 2019. Gabby and Koa were on a trip to Mexico as part of her unschooling adventure.
Yeah.
She was learning Spanish. She was looking at Hispanic culture, and
She was exploring Spanish stereotypes. She was given the opportunity to choose whatever she wanted. We had held a brainstorming session. We'd come up with 5 or 6 themes, and then she decided that stereotypes in Hispanic cultures was going to be what she wanted to make the overarching theme of this 8th grade school year be about.
Right. So they were there for 2 weeks in October.
We went for Day of the Dead
right
specifically.
through-
She wanted to go for
Right,
Day
I
of the
read
Dead.
about that. She wanted to go for Day of the Dead.
Very much. She
And they
was-
both
yeah.
costumed up and did all the
Yeah.
face painting and
It was important for her. Yeah, she wanted to go for Day of the
Okay.
Dead.
yeah.
Yep.
And when they came back early, 1st of November-ish, 2nd of November, Koa had a rash and that she had acquired when they were in Mexico, and so
Yeah.
Gabby took her to the doctor, and we were sort of working through that that week, and then on a Friday, I was at work, and Gabby was at home. Koa was in her room, and Gabby was down in our basement doing laundry, and her phone rang, and she got a phone call from the doctor's office, and so she just was in the laundry room, so she just stayed there, and if you will, just kind of sat down and had the conversation, which turned out being a quite lengthy conversation, and she went back up afterward, and was doing what she was doing, and
Was it
wondered-
about something you were going through?
Oh,
From the doctor?
about Koa's rash.
About Koa's rash.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so she was having a conversation
Yes.
about Koa
And I came
with,
Yes.
upstairs,
her
and I was
provider.
calling for Koa, and she wasn't answering me, and I was calling for her, and she wasn't answering for me, and so I went into her room, and I found that she had passed by her own hand.
Yes.
And it's important. It's painful, but it's important.
Yeah.
She and I had been arguing that morning.
As parents do, parents and
And
daughters.
it's true.
Yes.
It's absolutely true. And,
Yeah.
and we had made peace in the language of my family. We had made peace
Yes.
in my family of origin. Before I went downstairs, my last words to her were "I love you," and her last words to me were "I love you."
Yes.
However, still, when I came upstairs, she had passed.
Yeah.
So that I found her. I tried to, I called 911. I
Yes.
tried to resuscitate her.
Indeed.
They came and they were able to,
Get a heartbeat.
get a
and-
heartbeat. She was able to be breathing on her own, and they took her to the hospital. And Koa was there for 13 days. There was no telling how long she had been without oxygen to her brain. There was
Okay.
no way, because I was
Okay.
downstairs literally
Yes.
for 45 minutes hanging delicate laundry and talking to a nurse at the pediatrician's office.
Yes.
And so during that time, obviously, Dean came, so Zaria flew in, and
Yes.
lots of other family, and we lived at the hospital for those 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And so the truth is that
Was there anything during those 2 weeks?
that we thought that maybe she was going to be coming back, kind of thing. Is that what you're saying?
Well, some energy, some vibrations, anything.
She for Dean, it was really more about the rest of us, to be honest. The hospital
Okay,
time is how we
okay.
feel, especially now. Certainly, Bronson was amazing
Yes.
in their care for Koa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is very clear with us about the uncertainties and very gentle in taking every step that we needed to get towards the day that Koa then officially passed. But really, I found Koa and she had passed. And Dean and Zaria, they weren't there. I was the only one that was there, you know? And they did a lot of tests. And Dean and Zaria were very interested in understanding
The medical
what was
For
happening.
sure.
and prospects.
Yes.
I felt like she was ready to go, and she was going to be gone. But Dean and Zaria in particular needed to walk that walk
Yes.
themselves.
Everyone
They
in
didn't
their own
they-
journey.
absolutely.
Yes.
And they didn't find her the way I did, you know. And so so the thing that was really beautiful about that was that it enabled us to step into that space with Koa. It enabled us to be a part of her journey onward.
Yeah.
And so we had a discussion around what are we going to do, as we finally realized either you're going to need to do a whole lot of interventions, and she's going to be most likely confined and not be able to move and not be able to eat and not be able to speak and
Yeah.
not be able to read and not be able to,
Yeah.
or, you pull life support and she goes. And we had to come to that decision ourselves, right? We had to come along. Dean talks about how we had to come alongside her in her decision to go
Yes.
and to let her go.
Yeah, and in the end, it wasn't just Gabby and Zaria and I that decided that. We decided that with Koa through, we started talking about a living will, and what do we know of Koa or from Koa or with Koa that would lead us to her decision
Yes.
and her will,
Yes.
and what we came
Her
to.
will,
Yeah.
what she wants, her desire, my will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what we came to were three words, which were chosen by Koa on a weekend retreat for her 13th birthday.
Yes.
A year prior to that. And one of the exercises on this retreat that Koa took with Gabby was to think about, what do I want to, as I'm entering my teenage years,
Yes.
what do I want to pull forward with me? What do I want to leave behind in this transition? And where am I going? And what ways of moving in the world do I set my sights on? And how she defined those ways of moving for herself were three words: free, play, and joy. And as we sat with those three words, it became clear that we needed to walk alongside her and let her go.
Yes.
And that also helped us with the decision about organ donation too,
Yes.
because we needed to make a decision whether or not we were going to be okay with that.
Yes.
And the only pause that we had was that my family has a tradition from my father's passing and my mother's passing of washing and perfuming and oiling the body after passing. And in my family, everyone's been cremated. And having the opportunity to do that. And if Koa donated her organs, we were not going to have the opportunity to do that after she passed, because there's a certain window of time
They
during
would
which,
need to take her right
Yes.
away.
Yes.
So we went around and around about that. And the hospital was amazing, and the morgue was amazing, and they did everything they could to. They actually had her down to just one little IV port thingy, and we decided to do that whole ceremony before we pulled life support. And actually, before there's something called an honor walk that you do when someone's going to donate their organs. So we walked with Koa on her bed through that whole floor of the hospital to the elevators.
Which was amazing.
Oh my
Truly,
gosh.
Truly amazing.
There's
I mean, there
such-
were hundreds and hundreds of people, 98% of whom we didn't know, and they showed up to be with us and be with her and
Yes.
send her off.
Yeah. So
the energy in here is so thick. I could just pick it up. I could just. Oh my God.
Well, Koa never shied away from
Yes.
an audience. Never shied away from
I believe it.
telling you
Yeah.
what's what and how she feels and that sort of thing. And when my sister Anne Marie had gone with the people from the hospital and the organ donation to figure out where this procession would be before they would pull life support in a place ready to do surgery, right, on another floor of the hospital, she came back and she told Koa, you know, oh man, Koa, you're going to get to walk and people are going to be there, and then there's this place where you go through these doors and they open, there's going to be
bust the doors
so
open.
many people just waiting for you right there.
I love it. Oh my
And-
God. Oh
Yeah,
my.
it's really beautiful.
Oh.
And truly, like, I do have a friend who said, never in my life have I been in a place where I could feel love so palpably.
Yes.
So palpably.
Yes. I just need you guys to know that what a joy and an honor for me to know that you guys that you created this lovely foundation, this lovely environment, this playground for your daughter. All her life, she was conceived in such love and abundance, such rich family history and tradition, and you just nurtured it from her, even before it was being nurtured, even before you guys met.
For sure.
I feel like,
Yeah.
and then she just came into all of this just abundance of everything. So I honor you too for providing that for her. So many children don't get that, but you did it.
Well,
you did it.
I don't know what the word is. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, because of who we are and because of who Koa is and because of who Zaria, her big sister, is,
Yes.
like, it was easy to have that environment. We're all real creative, and Koa even, like, next level creative, and the emotions, you know, and so it's just this, yeah. When I look back at taking her on that retreat, for
Yeah.
example, you know, it was her 13th birthday. She never celebrated another birthday, and it was, without a doubt, 3 of the 10 most magical days of my life.
And
you know?
I read what she says, I am so happy.
She said, Mama, I'm so happy. She said, well, actually, there she said, I feel so loved, Mama.
Oh,
When we were in Mexico in the waterfall, which was less
Yeah.
than 2 weeks before before I
Yes.
found her in her room,
yes.
she said, I'm so happy, Mama. So it's a whole, this is
Yeah.
where the whole thing
Yeah,
all
how can
needs
this
to
be?
exist together. Because,
Yes.
can this be?
because, yeah, and we are not perfect parents. We were not perfect parents. We
Indeed.
made 1,000 mistakes along the way.
We all
know?
do. We
Right.
all do. But give yourself grace and
Sure.
credit for the
Sure.
foundation that you laid. And I don't mean to devalue or minimize what
Sure.
you're saying, not at all. But
Sure.
a lot of times we look at this side, and we sometimes don't hold up this side.
Absolutely. I had somebody very important for us who I
Yeah.
met in Argentina, and we were talking and we were exploring my guilt. And he's the one who told us, you know, he said, there's going to be a lot of people when you go back home. But this was a trip we went to Argentina on weeks after her passing, which had been planned for 2 years.
Yeah, we got to get to
And
that.
and he said, you know, a lot of people are going to have a lot of perspective on how you should feel about things to do with Koa, but really the only thing that you need to do about Koa is to thank Koa, period, because she has given you an opportunity to wake up, to experience life differently, to see life differently.
I
you
wrote
know?
that down. That
And-
Walter told you that.
Walter told us that, and
Yes, that's beautiful.
but you know, it's this idea of holding all of it, because you're not going to take your life if you're feeling only free play joy. That's not going to happen, right? Like Koa took her own life for her own reasons, right? Her own, it's in herself. But it was this life of abundance and beauty and plenty of hard and dark. And I think that for us, and all of that is always there all the time.
Yeah.
There is never
Yeah.
only one thing.
Yes.
Nothing is ever just
Yes.
beautiful and amazing and lovely.
Yes.
And nothing is ever just crappy and miserable
Yes.
and painful.
Yes.
Although, don't get me wrong, because
Yeah.
I was there a week and a half ago, when it was hard just to get out of bed for a few days, but it's never just one thing.
Never.
It's never just one thing.
Yeah, and that's a big lesson in this walking this last 6 years, right? Is there's not a hard line between light and dark, between good and bad, between sunrise and sunset. I mean, there's a big wide liminal space in between where it's both of the things.
Ooh.
Right.
At the same time.
And that's what takes us
yes.
to back to Walter's comment
Yes.
about giving gratitude is, this idea of grief and gratitude and them coexisting. Right?
Yes.
In your grief, right? What do grief and gratitude have in common? Love. Love is what they have in common. And you start realizing that and the grief shows you find gratitude in it, right? And the gratitude, suddenly something beautiful happens in our lives, and we have gratitude for it. Let's say it's something with the KOA Fund in particular,
yes.
and then all of a sudden you have the thought. The only reason we are experiencing this amazing moment right now that we have so much gratitude for is because she is not here and what happened on November 19th, 2019. That's the only reason we're experiencing this beautiful thing right now.
Yes.
And how do you sit with that?
How do you hold both
you
of
hold
those?
that by understanding that they're not two different things.
That
You
they're
try to hold it lightly
intertwined,
like the
they're
sandcastle.
meshing. Hold it
Yeah.
lightly like the sandcastle.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
if you're trying to really hold it, you're not going to be able to do it. Like, it just.
So just experience it and move through it.
So
I don't know.
So, for us,
Uh-huh.
allow it. For us, remind each other. And that's a huge gift that we have.
Yes.
Is that when we were in the hospital, I don't even know what made us do it, but we looked at each other. I don't know how we got there to this conversation, but we said, we won't make it if we don't hold each other up.
Yes. Oh.
We won't make it if we don't hold each other up. And so we call on that,
Holding each other up.
literally.
Yes.
She
holding
literally
each
said that
other
to me
up.
as
Yes.
we were walking in the building. We revisit that all the time.
All the time. If we can remember to hold each other
Hold
up.
each other up. Yeah.
Oh.
And I mean, it sounds
Beautiful.
so like this whole practice of gratitude, and it is so true. Like the practice of gratitude, and ironic or not ironic, we had gratitude practices as a family. Koa and I had gratitude practices together. Like it's not something, but the tenor of it and the
Intentionality.
and the necessity of it, the necessity of it, the bare life. Without it, without holding each other up,
Yes.
without gratitude,
Yes.
It's just darkness.
we wouldn't have
made it.
We wouldn't be here. And without synchronicity.
And you're reading my mind. You're scaring me right
well,
now.
because when we talk about it, it's gratitude and synchronicity. If we talk about the
Synchronicity.
two biggest healing hammers or whatever practices or
Vehicles.
Vehicles. That's better.
There
vehicles.
is something bigger, much bigger than us, I believe, that knows way more than we can ever know. Just as a sidebar, I was 17. I had just had a baby. and out of wedlock. But I was scheduled to go to college, and I got a call saying, well, my mother had said, come and go with me to the store, to the discount store, Grandpa's. I'm like, oh, I don't really want to. I don't feel like getting the baby ready. I'm just going to stay here. You go on and go. So my nephew went with us, went with her. And I got a call about 30 minutes later saying she had been in a car accident. And I was the first person on the scene to learn that my mother had made her transition. A drunk driver had hit her. And I was thrown into a world of adulthood that I had never had to experience before then. And I couldn't understand anything, couldn't process anything, but there was always something, just something around me that was like buffering me and pointing the way out of darkness. When I would get there, it was always like, just hold on. Just hold on a little bit longer. Just hold on a little bit longer. Keep moving through it. And it was my saving grace. Not a person, not anything anybody said, but in my darkest hours, there will always be somebody or something or a song on the radio or just something to bring light. And I just believe, like, tell your stories about synchronicity.
Yeah.
Because they're so beautiful. And I don't know where this time is going.
I know,
But,
we need
oh
to-
my gosh. So,
We need to-
yeah,
well,
because they're
this
so
is-
awesome.
This is sort of the what we call the origin story. And so I'll try and winnow it down. My family's from Argentina. I said that earlier. And we had been planning a trip for a couple of years to Argentina. We wanted to go to where I have family. And we also wanted to go to Mendoza, which is wine country in Argentina, which because my father had always wanted to go and he had never gone. And because, my brother-in-law also big into wine. And so we knew that he would be able to know more about that area, et cetera. So we were going with one of my sisters and her kids. And so it was the two of us, Zaria Koa, and my brother-in-law John, my sister Anne Marie, and their kids Hayden and Miles. And we needed to find a place to stay. We had taken vacations with them in the past, except for Zaria had never been on a vacation with everybody I just named. She'd either been on a college trip with friends or she was hanging out with her mom. It just had not. We had taken trips with Zaria and Koa, all the two families together. So here we are, literally 2 years in the making. And it's time for me, July, we're going in December. And in July, I decided to find an Airbnb. And I went on Airbnb and I was looking for a place in Mendoza for us to stay. And we had some very specific stuff. We wanted help with certain things and we wanted it to check off a bunch of boxes, and I was having a really hard time finding one. I find a place, I'm getting ready to book it, I'm messaging with my cousin in Argentina, I asked her to contact the owner, etc. We put a 24-hour hold on it so that I can get approval from Dean, from Anne Marie, and from John, my brother-in-law. Well, we did that, she puts a hold on it with the guy.
Something happened.
There's a delay. There's
Yeah.
a delay in the interfamily familial approval process.
Oh, yeah.
And then it comes through,
Wow.
good, ready, I go to book it, and the guy's like, I'm sorry, I booked it. And we're talking it was 2 hours after the 24 hours. I mean, it was, or whatever the time frame was.
Yeah.
It was, and I was so mad. And I actually was crying. I remember where I was. I remember Koa seeing me crying because I had found the perfect place. And I'm also angry.
Oh.
And I go back online because there's not going to be another place.
Yes.
We were going to the city where my family was from. We were also going to go to Buenos Aires, but we were going to go to Mendoza. And Mendoza, I didn't know where we were going to stay that was going to accommodate these things. And this place is there. And this place that had not been there in my other searches.
A new place.
A new place.
Never
Oh,
seen
God,
the listing.
never seen
There
it.
was a new listing or
Oh,
what had
gosh.
happened or whatever, and it's perfect.
Perfect.
It's perfect in many ways I don't have time to explain.
More perfect than the other one.
More
Very
perfect.
different.
Yes.
Very different.
Different, just in a different way.
Yeah,
Yes.
No, but also there were certain things that was wow, where has this place been?
Yes.
So I book it.
Yes.
And we're excited, and we're gonna go there, and then, Koa passes November 2019. Our trip is to leave like December 23rd or something. And we didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know if we were going to go on the trip or not. Zaria is actually the one that said to us, I think we should go. I think we should go because we're not going to regret going. But if we don't go, I think we'll regret
Not going.
not going.
Yes, yes.
And so I reached out to the Airbnb owner and I told him, hey, I'm just letting you know there's going to be 7 of us, not 8. My youngest daughter passed suddenly, and he was beautiful. He replied back, this guy Walter. He replied back, you know.
And all of their communication is in Spanish, by the way. So
Yeah, because he doesn't speak English, and
Yeah.
so this is on Airbnb, and he replies back, you know, I am so sorry, and I want you to know that I am here, and my son is here to help you along your healing journey in any way you can, in any way we can.
Oh my gosh.
And I
That
was
is
just
blessing.
annoyed because I was like, yeah, no, it's beautiful, and I was.
what do you know about my situation
How
and
are
what
you
I'm
going to be
feeling
able to help
and
me
how are
right
you going to
now?
help
I mean,
me?
we're talking. This is like, you know,
Okay,
7
This
to
is-
10 days after Koa's passing, and I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
yes,
sure.
yes, you're still.
thank
yes.
you so much, and
Yes.
yeah,
yes,
right.
Yes.
So we went different things, and we landed in Argentina at this place, at Walter's place.
Mm-hmm.
We have a beautiful time, and it's now Christmas Eve, and we have a lot of Christmas traditions, a lot of sister Christmas traditions. Zaria was working through
Yes.
some of that, and you know, not having Koa physically there, and we had some plans for Christmas Day that we were going to go on a special hike. And Walter, and we were leaving the 26th, so it was the end of
the
our
day
stay.
after
And Walter messaged me, and he said, you know, how are you all doing? And I said, not great, fine, but not great. You know, we're struggling, and by the way, we're not hiking tomorrow. Nobody wants to hike. We're sad, we're angry, we're hurting. And he said, well, you know, I really would like to, you know, I'm here for whatever you need. I'll be there to do the barbecue for you guys tomorrow. There's a whole traditional Argentine grilling thing, and he was coming to help us, teach us ways to, you know, do that and have this great Christmas meal. He said, but I'm here for you, whatever you guys want. And I want you to know, like, you had asked me about the trees on the property. I'd be happy to talk to you about the trees on the property because he had, you know, 800 or 900 trees, bushes, and plants that he has put on the property. And he said, but I did want you to know that I usually meditate all day on Christmas Eve. That's his tradition. He meditates all day on Christmas Eve. And I received a message during my meditation that is for you, for your family, and above all, for you as mother. And then he forwarded me a voicemail exchange between he and his son where he, after the meditation, had asked his son, you know, find out what their daughter's name is, the one who passed. Be very tactful, he tells his son. And then his son sends back, I had already asked him. Her name was Koa, and it means brave, fierce warrior in Hawaiian. And his father replied back, well, it's also a tree. There's an acacia koa tree, and we have one growing on our property. It came up near the lavender, and I found it a few months ago. So
Just found it a few months ago.
he found it a few months ago. He found it in like September of that year.
Here's the thing. Acacia koa trees only grow in Hawaii. Period. There are other acacia trees, other varieties or species of acacia trees around the world, including Africa. The big trees you see in many photographs are the African plains. Those are a type of acacia. But acacia koas only grow in Hawaii. And Walter would know this because before he had the Airbnb, he was a landscaper and a master horticulturist, and he did landscaping as his career, right? And was trained in this, and so he knew that it was an acacia koa tree, and so that leads you to the question of, so how was that koa tree there? And you know, to the best of our speculation, there are two ways. One is it came in the gut of a bird, and there are less than a handful of species of birds that can actually make it from Argentina to Hawaii, or potentially on some trade winds. Maybe it got swept up in a big stream. We're like, how does this happen, right? The other interesting thing that we learned afterwards about Acacia Koa tree is that in order for that koa seed to germinate and reproduce and make life, it either has to be scarred or it has to be scorched by fire. So not only is there the improbability of it getting from Hawaii to Argentina, it also either had to suffer being burned or being scarred before getting there. And on Christmas morning, Walter came and told us all of this. And then he said, "Would you like to see the Koa tree?" And we said, yes, we would. And he took us over to the lavender, and we have pictures of it. I mean, it's for real, right? And
my gosh.
This idea of synchronicity, we weren't even supposed to be at
We're
his
not
place.
supposed to be, right.
We were supposed to be
at the other
place.
place. Almost didn't go.
Right.
And
Yeah, and
went and
yeah.
made these. You were with a guy with
Right.
so much spiritual
Right.
knowledge and just being.
Remember, we are here to help you in your healing journey. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Whatever.
That
And
is
we-
the start of what we call our new origin story.
Yeah. And he pointed out later, like that first night we came to his place, he had set the table for 8, not 7. He made a dinner for us that night. He had put a chair there for Koa, and none of us even realized it. So yeah, that was. I mean, there are many other beautiful and wild stories, but that is the one that. Woke us up to
What's bigger than us,
something else,
as you said
something
earlier.
else, there's something else happening.
There's something else happening all the time. I got to do a part 2. I got to do a part 2, guys.
You want to hear the stories, don't you?
I want to hear this. I know. Not only do I want to hear the stories, it is so important that my audience, that people beyond our ears and voices can hear this. In this time where people are so concerned with the now, with getting, with taking, with just what they can see, touch, and feel, it is so important that we share this information, that there's something bigger. And we can connect with that something bigger, that it is coming to you. It is impressing itself on you all the time. But there has to be something that helps us become aware.
Yeah.
And that thing might not be,
No.
it's not what we want.
Nope.
It's scorched. It's seared. But out of it, a tree grows. Something bigger than ourselves that lasts beyond ourselves. Guys, we have like a minute and a half, and I can't, because I've got to get to what now. What now? And I did an interview with a young man. I think I told you guys. I did a part 1 and part 2 with him, and then a couple of weeks later, I found out he had made his transition.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was supposed to do that.
Right.
But I did. I don't know. I don't feel a moment was wasted in our conversation. I think every word that was spoken was supposed to be spoken. But there has to be a part 2. Because you guys are doing some amazing work.
Thanks.
And the world needs to know about this. My podcast is heard around the world. Yes, it is. I'm putting it out there. So all you guys have to share. Share it, pass it on. You're doing some amazing work. And I want to know what's next. It always grows bigger. It's like a tornado. You know, we see this down here, but it grows and grows and grows, and it sweeps up things as it's growing. So we will coordinate our schedules, but I want to give you guys a minute to say, or a few minutes to say what's on your heart now. What are you feeling?
Well, one thing I will say about what's next is, right, I mean, a formal vehicle we have for that is the KOA Fund, which you mentioned earlier, and we'd love to come back and talk with you more about that. It's all of our KOA stories and all of our stories, we bring them into the way we interface as an organization with the community that supports us. And it's those stories that people find their own resonance in those, right? And it's become a vehicle to allow people to come together, you know, through grief, through gratitude and grief, through transformation, and share that, right, in a common community. And I think, you know, one thing we think about relative to Koa's life here in her body and the KOA Fund and our work with her moving forward is that, you know, Koa's legacy is not in the past. Koa's legacy is unfolding into the future.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And we are the caretakers and the benefactors of that in our healing. And so, yeah, that's what's next for us.
And the givers, the spreaders. Yeah. Because you're giving so much.
Sharing our story has been an invaluable piece of our healing. There's a story in Argentina in a junkyard where telling our story became very important, because in sharing our story, it got us out of some potentially significant trouble that we were in because we weren't supposed to be in this junkyard in Argentina.
Oh boy!
So
now you've piqued our interest.
Well,
yes. What do you feel?
Oh, I would just piggyback on the share. You know, right now, you know, the opportunity to share the story is what he's right. Like it's a huge part of our healing. Yes. I mean, it's a huge part of our healing, and so. Having the opportunity to do that, because it reinforces things for us. You know, it's building deeper groups and reminding. It's reminding that I can stray from in the day to day, and it helps reground me in that. And my gratitude for Koa. My gratitude for Koa.
Oh yes.
For getting to be her mom.
Yeah. Oh.
Getting to be her mom.
Yes. Yes.
While she was here.
Yes.
Walking. And then I realized after she passed, I am still her mother.
Yes.
I actually still mother her. Yes. It just looks very, very different. It just looks very, very different. Yeah. And she, you know, she's still teaching me.
Yes. Thank you.
All
for
of our
sharing
kids
that.
teach us.
Yes.
She's still teaching me. So gracias Koa is something that we say.
Thank you. Thank you. You've taught me how to process more. I thought it was at the end of my processing.
Oh.
But I just got another layer. My roots of processing, the roots of this tree got a little stronger with something you just said. Watering it with that wisdom. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in to All Stories Matter. And tell somebody your story. Share your story. It's so important. Again, if you don't tell it, somebody else will. They won't get it right. Own it, share it, laugh about it, cry about it, whatever. Celebrate yourself with your story. Till next time, thank you.